Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our soul astrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome everyone.
Howdy.
Well, welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, and I hope all of you are joining us. You're tuned in from wherever, and we're on a bunch of different groups and stuff. So if you don't see other people's comments, it's just because they're coming from a different place. Okay. And we are live here to do a broadcast about the astrology in this coming week, starting pretty much today and going on for the rest of the week. And so it's like a forecast for the week. It's like a weather report, I'd say. So I'm Hollis Taylor. I am an astrologer here. And if you don't know me, you can go to my website at Divine Androgen. There's a link in the description. And
hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. You can always learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm an artist, an astrologer, a musician, a storyteller. Yeah, jack of all trades, author. My book, The Dancing Hippo, makes a great Christmas gift if you have little kiddos in your life that you want to gift something special.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
And I need to be updating my Etsy store with my art, but I haven't exactly gotten to that yet. So
we'll get there. Hi, Barbara. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. All right. Well, first, I think I'm going to start out with a little meditation, a group meditation. I want to invite you all to take a moment. A deep breath. Let the stress of the last couple of days go. Let it pass. As you breathe, just come into your body and feel yourself relax. And with each breath out, just blow out any stress you might have. And as we are enjoying the music and allow the music to lift you up, take you away. Like an astronaut to the edge of the planet, like a satellite going around the Earth with the astronauts. What comes into view for you is a beautiful full moon, completely full and whole. And this full moon seems to be glowing in front of you, reminding you of how full moons can culminate, put everything together and make things come to a head, make things come up, rise. And as you stare at the moon, you realize that within it is the symbol of Aries, slowly making itself appear to you as magic on this moon, because this full moon is in Aries. And as you connect with that Aries full moon energy, you recognize it is about action, assertiveness, about moving forward, taking the next step. And with Mars pulling the moon as the ruler of Aries, it can be pulled by some people into violence, conflict, and other uncomfortable situations. So no matter what you encounter this week, no matter what unfolds before us, we can be assured that someone is going to learn something from this conflict. And some of us might be more prepared for that conflict and instead just take action. Take the action that needs to be taken. Aries says, go forward. Some of us will be able to control the conflict or avoid the conflict, or at least reduce it a little by being more conscious, by being completely within our bodies and grounded and centered in who we are. And as this full moon's energy, this full moon light is just pouring down on you, you can feel the intensity of it. And feel that we are being led somewhere. That this, too, will take us forward into something else. I encourage you to take a deep breath and sink into the knowing that we are perfectly on track, that no doubt the universe is unfolding exactly as it should. And as we get pulled back into our seats here on Earth, back into our bodies, we can walk in our journey with confidence and knowing. come back into your body, I encourage you to wiggle your toes and stretch your fingers. Take a little stretch and come back into the here and now, into this moment now. Welcome. Well, thank you, Bright Hawk. Woo!
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody should know that today, right now, as you can read in the description and as you can read in the comments, this is all about astrology. This is the forecast for the coming week. Please read in the description. It's a really good way to get to know what's going on. So thanks, Barbara. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Barbara said beautiful music.
Oh.
She's over there dancing.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Beautiful, Barbara. All right. Well, everyone. And even Betty Cooper in the group said good evening and that she really loved it, giving us big claps. Hi, Carol. And hi, Angela. It's great to have you all with us today. And I appreciate you, Patty, for tuning in. And Linda, welcome. Sue, we're doing an astrology forecast today. So I hope that you will take a moment to listen to what's coming up. It would be in your best interest. Hi, Bianca. Well, I'm about to start to talk about this week because I'm just going to say, anyone tuning in right now, you wanna know what's going on this week astrologically.
It's a big week.
It's a very big week on a world scale.
Yeah.
You need to pay attention. If you've made it here, you should tune in and just pay attention for a little bit. It's astrology. Some of it will sound Greek for sure.
But that's what we're here for, to try to.
But Bright Hawk and I will do our best to make sure it doesn't sound like Greek and to interpret it to the best of our ability. Okay? So, and if you have questions related to what you're seeing in the chart, let us know. Okay? So this week is the astrology forecast. So you can ask questions directly about what we're talking about. And if you ask those questions, I'm more likely to answer them. Okay. And this week is from October 14th, which is today, all the way to next week and 20th. And I'm sorry, Sunday the 20th. I'm sorry, Lacrosse is not here. Sometimes he's with us, but he's not this time. So I want to go forward into this week. So first of all, Mars entered Cancer a bit ago, okay? And that sort of creates a heavy feeling sometimes because Mars is very fiery and Cancer is very watery, okay? And that's been going on, and it's actually in a T-square there with the Sun and Chiron, which is kind of creating this heavy energy. And if you have anything in Cancer, you're going to feel this more than others might, okay? And it's just going to be a little like, can we get there? Why am I having a hard time finding motivation? Feeling like I said the other day, it felt like I was pulling 100 pounds behind me. So, and that's pretty much kind of how like the Mars and Cancer can kind of feel. And of course, at this time, we still have Venus in Scorpio, which is afflicted, which means there could be things coming up in relation to being female or money. Either way, it means that it could be a problem. And, it's directly opposite Uranus, which would mean that it would have like a conflict of the two. Like, we can't move forward unless, we can't move forward unless, we can't do this because. And it would probably be because something related to like women being abused or treated inappropriately, and that's also been going on for quite some time. And what's coming into even a stronger thing that will go on for quite some time, actually, to go on, I looked at it, it's pretty much Mars is pretty much opposite Pluto until like December, like Christmas time. Okay. And
Oh, John.
the issue with that is
okay.
let's
talk about a little bit of the positive. Okay,
sure, go ahead.
So this week, ancestrally starting on Monday, we have a grand trine. What does that mean? Well, a trine is the most positive aspect. It's the easiest, the most blessed energy you can have in astrology. So there's a grand trine in water. Well, what does that mean? Well, water is all about emotion and intuition and connection and not boundaries. So the grand trine is Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Neptune in Pisces. So there could be a lot of feelings. And it's a grand trine with a kite because there's a sextile with Pluto. And we have that Pluto opposite Mars opposition there. And so trines tend to make for blessed energy. Squares tend to make for decisions and action. Things cannot get resolved or moved. You can't move it forward unless you do something. It forces you to do something.
So a square is usually a challenge
that
hopefully you can overcome if you're willing.
And the reason why we need to talk about the aspects this week is because there's a lot of them, and they're really, really potent this week. So on Monday, we have this blessed energy of the grand trine and the kite, which makes things want to take off, lift up. And the other thing that's happening this week is that you'll see a lot of oppositions. And we're going to talk about that and what happens to those oppositions, because it perfects on the full moon on Thursday. And what you start to see in this chart, if you're looking at it, is a big cross in the middle. And oppositions are that we have, and in this case, it's Sun opposite Chiron at 21 degrees, and Mars opposite Pluto. That perfects during the week. So right now it's at its farthest.
It actually doesn't perfect until after the Grand Cross.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was interesting. That's sort of like what Michael Barwick was saying.
Gets very close. That's right.
Yeah, it gets close, which you're probably already feeling it because Mars moves pretty quick. And if you have anything in Cancer or Capricorn, you're probably already starting to feel it. Mm-hmm. So I've already talked to some people that have strong Capricorn placements, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's happening, Hollis?" And some people with strong Cancer placements that are like, "Why am I so pissed off?" And I'm like, okay, so that's Mars in Cancer, and opposite Pluto, because Mars is the god of war and Pluto is the higher resonance of Mars. So they're very similar. And within opposition, it's like you're doing one or the other usually, or they're just pulling each other apart. And you essentially have two very aggressive, I'd say, out of all of the zodiac, that Mars and Pluto are the most aggressive planets out of them all. Saturn is a teacher, I would say, and sometimes comes in and teaches and makes things clear, but the rest of the planets are not really that assertive or aggressive. And Mars is known for being assertive. That's why it's the rulership of Aries. they're also both rulers of Scorpio.
I was just gonna
And
say
so that makes me look at, okay, what's in Scorpio? So we got Mercury at 1 degree and we got Venus which is in her fall in Scorpio. Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio. And so Venus in Scorpio, sometimes, even if it is in your chart, Venus in Scorpio, you're like, well, my Venus is in Scorpio. And so sometimes that leads to troubles with love, or maybe you've been assaulted or attacked inappropriately by men because you're a woman, or because you're a woman, sometimes things don't go well for you. And so that's sort of what happens with Venus in Scorpio. And so you should, I've talked to women with Venus and Scorpio, and when I say that to them, they're like, is that why that happens? And I'm like, yeah. So then I remind them that in your progress chart, Venus will move out of that sign. So it will pass eventually. It will go away eventually. But right now, Venus is in Scorpio and it's opposite Uranus, and they're perfected. If you take a look at that, they're perfected. They're exactly at 26 degrees. And the Sun and Chiron are both also perfectly at 21 degrees. And I feel like with Venus and Scorpio, with that afflicted female pulling on Uranus and Taurus, which Venus actually rules Taurus. So I feel like that pull right there is like pulling it in like there's some, I've always done it this way. And there's some sort of thing about repeating patterns or being too loyal. I've been talking to women that are really struggling with that as well. So people that are struggling with these transits right now are struggling with, I've been too loyal. I've stayed too long. And that's very Taurus. Okay. And then with the Sun in Libra, it wants you to go forward regarding relationships. It wants you to find healthy relationship. It wants you to collaborate in a good way. But Chiron in Aries is pulling you backwards. And Chiron retrograde in Aries, I feel like, definitely has a lot to do with like things that end up putting you in like codependency, which is more of what I just said, which is more of that, which is more of I've given too much, I've done too much, and then becoming sort of a martyr in that. So then we have those pools, and now we have Pluto and Mars pooling on each other, and Mars just coming into opposition technically this week with Pluto, and it's going to slowly get closer and closer and closer. And I feel like that's what's creating the conflict.
Yeah.
So you already feel all that codependency regarding relationships, and then you have this pool.
And the thing to understand about oppositions, this pulling that we're talking about, is that it's very difficult to resolve. It ends up usually feeling like it's this or it's that. And what life is sort of asking you to do is find that middle point. Now, what happens with the Grand Cross, of course, is that you end up with T-squares. So the Sun Chiron opposition is a T-square on both directions, one to Pluto, one to Mars. What does that mean? Sounds like gibberish. Okay, well, the Sun is the bright, beautiful personality, right? Right now it's in Libra. Libra Sun is all about everyone getting along, it being fair, enjoying the nice things in life.
Avoiding conflict at all costs.
At all costs. Libra can be, as Hollis said, very codependent. Opposite Chiron in Aries, as Hollis has said, Chiron in Aries retrograde. This is not particularly comfortable, but there is an opportunity for healing, because Aries is action and Chiron wants to heal, wants to take action as a healer, wants to be helpful. And so when we talk about T-squares, what we mean is that the top of that triangle, that one's opposite, and then at the top of it is the T-square, those are the energies that can help you resolve the conflict or help you move forward, make progress. So in this case, we have Mars and we have Pluto, which again are considered similar frequencies. Mars being hotter and more active and
Quicker.
aggressive, and Pluto being obviously cooler but more transformative.
Slow and more strategic. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what you can call on. What would be the strategic thing? What is life asking me to do? You know what it is.
Yeah, so there's something brewing in your home, or I wouldn't be surprised if it's home just because Mars is in Cancer, or in relation to your relationships at home, or in your family of origin. So whatever's brewing is probably going to boil over by the end of the week. And so the best thing to do is to either be prepared for that boiling over or to take action. So if there's some action, like there are some people in relationships that haven't taken action, and I'm like, take the action, because if you take the action, then it will make whatever boil over. It's sort of like putting salt in the water. It doesn't quite boil over. If you take the action of putting the salt in the water before it boils over, then it's more likely to either, number one, the intensity of the conflict will happen before the full moon is part of the story, and it will also sort of reduce that boiling over. So then the boiling over, I mean, you're going to have conflict either ways. You're not going to be able to avoid it. But at the same time, this energy is, how to make it a little bit lesser. Take the action now.
Right.
Take forward now. Go forward now. Look now. Be prepared for something on Thursday. And that would be my best advice for it, to stay grounded in that. So let's go a little bit forward as the grand.
Well, I wanted to just talk about the moon for just a second. So the moon is waxing. Of course, we're going to have a full moon on Thursday. So it's a waxing Pisces gibbous moon. And when the moon is in Pisces, it's going to be answering to Jupiter. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. And so, and Neptune.
And Neptune, actually. But Neptune's in Pisces there.
And Neptune is in its rulership. So pretty pleasant energy that way. Neptune, but it's conjunct Saturn. So it's back to that. You know how we often talk about how there are themes that arise in charts in astrology. And when the theme arises, it's usually multiple things pointing to it. So again, moon conjunct Saturn means, what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is get it done. It's infrastructure. It's the system. It's taskmaster. So it demands you get the work done. And if you don't, that's usually the proverbial 2x4. So I'd rather just do the work. And so that's what's happening with the moon as it is in Pisces.
All right. And then as we go forward,
Tuesday, tomorrow,
the Grand Trine will stay. I'm not sure it stays the whole time, but and the Grand Cross will start to form. Mm-hmm. Okay. And really, there's technically almost a Grand Cross on Tuesday, Wednesday, mm-hmm. because you still got the Sun opposite Chiron, like we talked about. We still have Pluto and Mars. So we have like all these energies pulling us, especially in relation to families of origin, relationships, and particularly your choices in life. Now, also, you might want to look and see where Capricorn is in your chart, especially late degree Capricorn, and late degree Cancer, and late degree Libra, and late degree, I mean 20 or later. So look at the numbers that are near those planets in Aries, and you'll be able to see a lot of what areas of your life this is going to affect. Is it going to, push your temper forward? If you're a Cancer rising, probably. Um, if you're a Capricorn sun, you're saying, well, I'm a Capricorn sun, that's my birth sign. Well, Capricorn has got Pluto in it. You've probably already been feeling it, and it'll probably get a little intense this week. And then hopefully you'll start to find solution to whatever's been going on with you for quite some time. Frankly, because Pluto's been in there in Capricorn for some time.
Yeah, it's not going to be in there much longer. Pretty soon, Pluto will move out of Capricorn for the last time and then reside in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So the moon is now going to finish up in Pisces, and it's conjunct Neptune, that crowded little area there between Pisces and Aries that's got Neptune, the North Node, and Chiron's a little farther away. But at any rate, now the moon is in a tight conversation with Neptune in the North Node, and it happens to be trine Venus and Mars, and becomes part of that grand trine that we were talking about earlier, grand trine in water. And
I wouldn't be surprised if you had like a psychic download on this day.
Yeah,
about what's about to happen.
Wow. So tomorrow, Tuesday, could be a very psychic day.
Yeah.
And then the moon will go void from 8 p.m. to 8:34 p.m. Mountain Time. And when the moon goes void, of course, it's when the emotional energy is at its lowest. So it's a good time for self-care. Take a bath, do whatever you like to do that takes care of you. Lovely cup of tea, whatever it is. Void of course moons are an opportunity to stop, to be patient,
take a break,
meditate, yoga, things like that. What it is not a time to do is initiate things, take action on things. You need to have done it before 8 o'clock in the Tuesday night. So, and why? Because there won't be a lot of energy to get it done. That's the other thing that happens. So sometimes we talk about how void of course moons can be advantageous if you want something to sail through, like you don't want any emotional energy. Maybe you need to have a conversation with somebody where you just don't want there to be any charge. It's a good time to sometimes have those conversations.
Tuesday night.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of emotional energy. So it can just be factual. Let's take care of this. Okay, fine.
And that's 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So that's 10 p.m. on the East Coast.
Right.
Okay. And
good day for readings.
And and the moon and Neptune conjunct like that. Just tell me that if you've got some sort of download or something like that, I would pay attention to it. So like if you get a psychic awareness on Tuesday about something that's brewing in your house, that is probably the Grand Cross. It might intensify. And then here we are Wednesday. Now some of that grand trine starts to kind of fall apart. There's some minor trines, but the grand trines mostly fall apart. Pluto is in a square still to the sun and Mercury. So I really feel like because we have all this, because we have, it's cardinal energy, we have a lot of information regarding relationships, including Venus opposite Uranus and Mercury in Scorpio. I feel like we're starting to talk about relationships here. And with the sun in Virgo, it's going to be about relationships, I think, or relationships or things. Libra. Sorry, sun's in Libra. And so I feel like relationships also because Mars in Cancer's like home and house and family of origin.
Right. Cancer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to a couple of people who also said, oh my gosh, my family's fighting. Like they're fighting with their family like today.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm like, really? Oh,
Kind
that's
of the
Mars and
astrology,
Cancer.
if you guys can hang in there and not say anything too detrimental.
Yeah, I said just take action and don't try not to burn any bridges, or maybe just avoid them for this week
Right.
if you can. Some people can, some people can't.
Sorry, my slide is wrong. It should say waxing Aries gibbous moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it did move into Aries just now on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And
conjunct Chiron in the North Node, which, that little cluster is definitely feeling your destiny, and this is where the difficult conversation and relationship thing could happen, because you're the moon in North Node. North Node is destiny. North Node is like your North Star, the direction you're headed. And if you're feeling like a conflict inside about where you're headed, this is going to be a little uncomfortable. It's definitely will amp up the energy.
Mhm.
Now, if you're psyched about where you're headed and you're, feel like your North Star is clear, it could be very exciting and you could have a lot of energy for it.
And I feel like with the moon there approaching Chiron, when it comes into perfection of this Grand Cross, I think the Grand Cross, you could start feeling the Grand Cross energy, of course, on Wednesday. It might depend on your chart itself, like how your chart is set up. So you could definitely begin to feel the conflict amp up on this day, or even happen this day, depending on who you're dealing with, because I understand that we're dealing with other people here. And then
so this is the exact time on Thursday. This is the time of the Aries full moon when the sun is opposite the moon at 24 degrees. Sun is in Libra, obviously. Happy birthday, Libras. Moon is in 24 degrees Aries, conjunct Chiron, very close. So
I find it interesting that, okay, so this is happening at 5:30 in the morning, and the void moon is that day, at that night at 7:30 and 7:30 to 8 p.m. And I'm just thinking, oh my goodness. So most of the day, that full moon, and from what I understand, it's a super moon. Which
of course it is.
A super moon means it's that much closer to the Earth, and so it means it's that much more intense.
Feel it.
So you're definitely going to feel it.
The tides
and
will be
you know what?
noticeable.
If nothing happens in your family, you're very lucky. You're very fortunate. Or nothing happens in your home, nothing happens in your relations, something will happen on the world scale. Okay?
Yes.
Because Chiron is at 29 degrees Chiron at 20, sorry, Capricorn. Pluto is at 29 degrees Capricorn, and that's what do they call that? Anaretic degree. And now, isn't it are the degrees 24 degrees with the moon and the sun, are they also anaretic or no?
No.
Okay.
It's only the first degree and last degree of a sign.
Okay.
Some people would say 2 degrees, but I count 1.
Okay, 1. Okay. So, but the fact that Pluto is there, and I'm just going to say that the Grand Cross will sort of really intensify on Thursday. So
explain what a Grand Cross is.
A Grand Cross is 2 oppositions that are across like this, and then all 4 of the points that it leads to are in what we call a square. So oppositions are the hardest, in my opinion, the hardest to manage, because it's usually one way or the other. It can feel like 2 things are pulling you apart. Some people, when they describe having a cross of any kind like that, or having even an opposition, they'll describe it as feeling torn in 2 different directions. Some people will say that they constantly have internal conflict. So and it's usually in relation to those oppositions. Well, now this is 2 oppositions. So you're like, you have one opposition like this, and then you have another opposition like this, and those are those red lines that go from one side to the other.
Right. And the other thing that makes this Grand Cross, I think, particularly powerful is that it's in cardinal signs.
Mm-hmm.
So cardinal energy. So we talk about the different elements that go with the sign: earth, air, water, fire. And we also talk about the type of sign. Is it cardinal? Is it mutable? Is it fixed? So cardinal is the beginning of each season, right? So January is Capricorn, April is Aries, Libra for the fall, and did I get them? No, I missed Cancer. And Cancer, because of course,
Summer.
summer. And so that's what uh, those are and cardinal signs are all about. Again, remember, we keep talking about action, action, action. You have to take action. Cardinal's all about action. It's about initiating the plan. People who have a lot of cardinal energy are usually great at coming up with great ideas, whereas the people who have fixed energy tend to be good at implementing those ideas. They'll see it through, like a Virgo. No, Virgo's
Virgo is mutable.
mutable. I have mutable Sag.
Taurus is fixed.
Okay, so you know that it's probably a deeper, longer conversation. Mutable, it has a lot of flexibility. Fixed obviously does not. Taurus is kind of classic fixed sign, last to change, but once they decide, get out of the bull's way, right? That it's as good as done. They just are going to be the last one to do it. So this Grand Cross has the potential to make you feel like you're getting pulled in a variety of directions.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the drama will peak, and then it will become a void of course moon at 7:30. So hopefully that will feel like, I wish that for all of us. Exhale between 7:30 and 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Again, adjust for your time. And know that whatever intensity comes up for whoever or wherever, this too shall pass. Nothing lasts forever. Everything keeps moving. It's a fluid life. And
yeah, and
we'll find out what happens
it's
next.
just that, it is a Grand Cross. It's one of the most intense aspects there are. And we are talking about Pluto here, who is on a world point or an anuretic degree or whatever. And that just means that the whole world is probably going to see it. But we still have more to do with Pluto in the coming months. So Pluto's not done yet with us. It's been in Capricorn trying to check in with us, trying to say, hey, is this really the kind of politics that you want? Is this really kind of the country, the system that you want? Is this how you want it to work? And a lot of us are exhausted. A lot of us are tired of it. A lot of us have had enough. And I understand that. But we still have some more work to do. And Pluto wants to make sure that work is done. So if you have something brewing in your family or whatever, if you can put it off and not deal with it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and avoid it, I would. I definitely would. And if you can't, and you just have to do it anyway, just do it and be aware. And I wouldn't encourage. I heard another astrologer even said this: don't go into crowds.
Yeah, man, if you can take Thursday off or find yourself in a
work from home,
less having to have less interactions, it could be really to your advantage.
Yeah, any way that you can avoid crowds on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be great. Any way that you can avoid people on that day, that would be great. I would not recommend going shopping at the mall on Thursday or Friday. I would not recommend going to a concert or anywhere that unconscious people. And when I say unconscious people, I mean people that could care two craps about astrology, who don't have any care for other people, that are very depressed, that have access to violent means like guns. So, I would avoid those kinds of situations to the best of my ability this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's your warning.
There's your warning, and I've heard other people give it too. I don't think I'm being over dramatic. I think it's for real. Okay. I think we just need to take a deep breath and hold on through this time. And it sure doesn't help, everything that's going on with the election and everything like that. It's just making it worse. So the Grand Cross will break apart a little bit just because the moon will move into Taurus. But outside of that, everything else is still in a square and an opposition.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And the biggest difference is that now we have a yod. And a yod is also known as a finger of God. It's two in conjunctions and a sextile. What does that mean? What it means is it's a line of destiny, and it's very difficult to go against it. So just go with it. So it's pointing at the sun. So the sun in Libra, remember, sun in Libra is all about justice, fairness, everybody's taken care of, non-confrontational, right? So the sun is at the top, and Uranus and Neptune are pointing at it, at the base. And so Uranus, of course, is all about revolutionary change, and Neptune is about dreams and visions. So, what do you think, Hollis?
Well, the sun in Libra makes me think about relationships, especially since we're still kind of in the Grand Cross energy on Friday. So it makes me feel like whatever happens regarding relationships is meant to happen. This is meant to unfold. And Neptune is backwards, and so is Uranus. So I feel like that's reflective. So if something happens on Thursday that is violent or something in your home, you may have to reflect about that. Or something that came up, and you're like, I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. I'm not sure this is for me. It could be an end to some sort of relationship or relations, including, just depends on where Libra is in your chart.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So the moon will be in Taurus, and it's opposite Mercury now. And so again, there's that conversation going on. And when the moon is in Taurus, it's answering to Venus, the ruler of Taurus. So again, we just keep underscoring relationships, change.
It's just relationships
a
lot,
and over
yeah.
and over, doesn't it? Just keeps showing up and again and again. And positive action. There's a trine to Saturn. So opportunity to just, that just fell into place. Isn't that nice?
Right.
Things like that. You don't even realize how easy maybe something you were actually worried about it being a big deal, and it's like done.
Right. And I feel like even as we move into Saturday, Sunday, sorry about that. The Grand Cross doesn't really change. It's still there. So I still feel like the conflict is still going to be going on. It's not really going to change. And then we have a different, so where we had before, we had Venus opposite Uranus. Now we have the moon on Saturday hanging out with Uranus, now also creating another opposition with now Venus and Sag. So I don't feel like that's particularly easy, particularly with relationships, wanting to move on, wanting to change, wanting justice, and things like that. All of that's going to be still happening because, Sagittarius rules justice. And then we also have Jupiter in Gemini going backwards, which is asking for wrongs to be right. And that's in a trine to the sun. So that sun that's in a yod. And I just feel like we have more about relationships that have been wronged being right. And so that could be relationships, not just our personal relationships, not just romantic relationships. This could be business relationships, friendships, families, siblings, cousins, anyone that if you're, and that includes like companies that you're in relationship with. That also includes countries like, the United States and Canada have a relationship, right? Okay. And so we have to think about all relationships. And there's going to be some challenges and some changes that have to happen, including the relationship of the people with this election. I think that also the people, we really have to say what needs to change, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And that's been brewing for a long time, and it's going to continue to brew.
Yeah. And the energy to get it done or what have you could be better on Saturday, because now you have the moon in a trine to Pluto, and it becomes part of that minor trine with Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. That's been going on all month.
Maybe there'll be some solutions that come up for some of the issues that you have been dealing with.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be awesome. With the trines that are coming up, I do see that Mars and Saturn Mercury and Saturn pretty much stay in a trine most of the week. So at least there will be some communication, even if it is yelling at each other. I believe that at least communication will happen. And I see the void moon is at 7:30.
Yeah, so again at 7:30 to 8, just
on Saturday night,
short Saturday evening. Time to chill out. 7:30, it's chill out time. And it, again, not a time to initiate things, definitely a time to take time to just be, to relax, to be quiet, that kind of thing.
Right. And Sunday, I am happy to see Pluto coming into a trine with the South Node and a trine with Uranus. That does feel positive, but we're not quite in a grand trine yet. But it does feel positive that maybe Pluto can help resolve some of the things that have happened. It is still in a square. And the most of the Grand Cross is still going on, with, except it's not technically a Grand Cross except for on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the intensity is still there. We might start to find some resolution in our home, or at least have room enough to calm down over the weekend.
Yeah, you almost have a mystic rectangle, but it doesn't complete. So
right, neither does a grand trine.
Right. Right. So
you want it to, but it doesn't.
Right. So it happens a lot on this one. But yeah, so now the moon is in Gemini, and of course it's waning now that it's peaked on Thursday, and now it's going to start shedding. So of course this is when the moon sheds, it's the time to let go, refine, review. The energy of the moon is also starting to come down from the peak of its fullness. So it won't be as intense, which might be a good thing after the intensity of Thursday. I'm going to guess we're going to be glad.
Yeah, so the intensity still will be there. I'm not going to say your feelings won't be gone. You'll still have a conflict you still have to deal with. Well, it's not going to completely be resolved, I don't think, and probably until the next week. I just think it's still going to be there, but at this point, you'll be able to chill.
Well, and then the moon, of course, is going to conjunct Jupiter. So hopefully there's a stroke of luck, right? Because the sun has been trining Jupiter most of the week. And Jupiter, of course, is the good luck planet, the benefic, the let me help you get what you want.
But it's retrograde, so you have to ask for what you want.
And you have to really review, like, do I really want this? Is this what I really want? And that, always having that conversation with the universe. And if you don't ask, it can't deliver.
Yeah.
So
say your prayers.
Yeah.
Say your prayers this week. Jupiter's been in retrograde all week. And I feel like when Jupiter is in retrograde, the best thing you could do is So Susie, great question.
Okay.
Susie asked, are the
questions?
days same in Australia, or do we take time different in consideration? You know what? I can take a look at that really quickly for you. I'm not sure about that.
So I can tell you, of course, the void of course moons would be at a very different time. You can
she could just convert it?
just you can look up the void of course moon. There's a calendar online. There's several, and then you can usually put in one of them. I know is deliberately Pacific time. The one that I use, you can put in your location and it'll adjust it for you. And I think it's just called Void of Course Moon. I'm not sure, but that's how you can find out for you. And of course, the seasons are opposite. We're in the fall, so you're in the spring in Australia.
So it does look like I just put in just for instance Sydney, Australia, and yes, it's still a Grand Cross on October 17th. Now the time could be a little bit off for you. So like if we like she just said, you'll just want to do the conversion from mountain time to your time zone in Australia. I know Australia has a couple time zones, but I'm just saying that you'll just have to so you just have to convert the time for you, Susie. Great question. Great question. Bianca, I know it sounds like Greek. That's why I
try to break it down so you can understand for sure. It definitely is like learning another language, and there's a lot of things that influence each other, and that's why we try to help break it down so hopefully it makes sense and help you not only enjoy your week but know how to sort of ride it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why we do it this week every time. I also want to address some other people's questions. This is from Jen in the group, and she said, does it matter your sign, or does it go for everyone? Well, that's the thing, Jennifer, is it does kind of go for everyone, but what happens in your chart is it could tell us in what area of your life. So each of those little pieces of the pie are a different area of your life. So if you're looking at your chart, you would want to look and see where's Aries, where's Cancer, where's Libra, because everybody has all the astrology in their chart. And sometimes you have planets there and you don't even know it. And so then what happens is you look at your chart and you look at those little pie pieces, right? And then you're like, oh, so like the first house is identity, the second house is like money and resources and values, and the third house is very much about like siblings and community and things like that, especially people around you, neighbors. The fourth house is your family of origin, okay, and your home and the house you live in. The fifth house is very much about romance and romantic relationships, creativity, and children. And the sixth house is very much about your health and your wellness, okay? And the seventh house is very much about relationships, love relationships, partnerships, all kinds of relationships. All relationships apply to the seventh house. And the eighth house is very much about shadow, sex, death, and taxes. It's all about the taboo and the things we don't want to talk about, including other people's money. And so that could be like inheritances and things like that. Okay. And then the ninth house is very much about spirituality and travel, and very much about higher learning. And the 10th house, so we're going all the way from down, it goes, starts on the left-hand side and goes all the way around. Okay. And you can see little numbers usually in there. So then the 10th house is career, your job, your work in the world. The 11th house is the people that you know, particularly the ones that are in power or have power over you. And the 12th house is about hidden things. It's also about institutions like hospitals and, institutional places. And then also it's about the unseen and things you don't know. It's also about psychic topics. So, and if you look on the left-hand side of your chart, that's your ascendant. And so you want to pay attention to that, because if there's anything, if that's in Cancer or any of these 4 signs, I assure you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it because it's because that's your ascendant. That's where you're going.
So this last month we had the eclipses in Aries and Libra, because the eclipses are based on the north and south node, also known as the luminaries of the moon. And so any placements you have in Aries and Libra, we're going to get lit up by that. So we've talked a lot about that access, because that's the moon this time is the full moon in Aries and the sun is in Libra. The other axis that we keep talking about is because Capricorn, Pluto is in Capricorn and Mars is opposite in Cancer. So again, those access points, that's what creates the Grand Cross. So if you have anything in Cancer, if you have anything in Capricorn, those are definitely points that are going to light up on your chart.
Mm-hmm.
But without seeing your chart, you can go online and do what's called a synastry chart, which is your natal chart and today's chart. And it'll show you how everything lines up and what is conjunct, what's next to each other, what's opposite each other. And then, of course, are there trines and squares.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really tells you a lot more about how's this journey going to be for me.
Right. And I just want to say a shout out to JR and and Pickles. Hi, Pickles.
Hey there.
And Kate, not available. I'm glad that you noted it. It is going to be kind of an intense week. And that's the whole idea of doing this today, is to make sure that people know what's coming up so we can tap into, what's supposed to happen, and do our best to make the best of things.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Good. And my cards aren't put away. Yeah, they're still put away. They're deep put away. So I'm just going to sign off then and say, I wish the best for all of you. Make sure that you do your best this week to manage your temper, and maybe hold things till next week if you got something that you can deal with.
Look for the healing opportunities, because Chiron is very involved with the sun, opposite the sun. So if you can find the path of healing, the path of, what would be for the greatest good, because remember, the sun is in Libra, it doesn't like conflict. Right. So if you can find the path of least resistance, find the path of peace, find the path of grace, many blessings on that path. Wish you all the very, very best. Would be great if you want to hit subscribe or share or like. Thanks so much for all your comments and great, great questions. It's really fun to have it be interactive. And thanks for listening to Rainbow Soul Astrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars. And that's our dog. Time to sign off.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soul Astrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soul Astrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart, so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.